Awesome. All right. So, really happy to be here in Argentina with you. Would like to start with this, which is the answer to the question of what defines the success of our industry, and virtually the success of all of us here that are building protocols and applications and products. And it's quite clear that it's the growth in the form of new assets and new users that coming into our industry. And it does seem in recent time, for people that have been here for a little while, that we have more supply than demand. We don't have enough influx of new users and new assets and new TVL. And I think that there is a one light at the end of the tunnel for us, which is real-world assets. Real-world asset has been growing constantly, while we can see here on the screen how DeFi has been fluctuating for the past, since the previous all-time high. Real-world asset had this constant flow and growth, and there is a clear reason for that. The opportunity with real-world asset is quite huge and exists on many different markets and types of assets. Essentially, I think that many of the builders in the industry do understand it today, that much of the world's value going to be in one way or another possible to tokenize, and we are seeing a lot of growth in recent years with private credit and now with the beginning of real estate. Here we can see all kind of projections of how much of this growth can take place in really the coming years. And this is what we at the Oracle focus at. We focus at the real-world asset category in terms of how is it possible for us to allow this change to happen in the coming years, and really also in real time, in terms of understanding the evaluation of these assets, understanding what needs to be done in order for this reality to take place in crypto. So in order to do that, we have to understand how the evaluation, how the backing of these real-world assets are being done. How is it possible for us to use them as collateral? What needed to take place from an Oracle perspective, from a risk management perspective? This is what we at EO specialize at, of having an understanding of the value of these real-world assets and being able to do so. And here's an example of a private credit fund that we've been doing recently with Fasanara. This is a $5 billion fund based in the UK that we have been working with them on this tokenization of essentially loans that they are giving to companies. And this product grew from 0 to 150 million in the last 2 months. And this really stands as a proof to a new form of liquidity that have not been existed on-chain before and now can be tokenized, and we anticipate to see a lot of growth. This is more than $2 trillion industry of private loans between funds and banks to all kinds of companies. This form of asset is not liquid. It's not being able to be used as collateral. And now we're really standing at a change where can take place. But without this underlying data, it's not possible. So that was one example. We have such a huge market and opportunity in between insurance, in between real estate, derivatives. We've seen much of this growth happening also on stocks in recent time. And honestly, I personally think that within few years, real-world assets will likely be bigger than crypto on-chain, which means that there will be more liquidity, more TVL of real-world assets being tokenized than probably the sum of all crypto assets. And I think that this is the answer to this initial question of what do we want to see as builders in this space. We want to see new users and we want to see new capital entering the space. And this is likely the form of it happening. This is why we build EO, and this is how we plan on helping this future to materialize, by really connecting the variety of real-world assets and the deep understanding that need to happen to the evaluation of them and everything that is necessary to tokenize them and to provide them as a valid form of collateral on-chain. So, happy to talk to anyone that might have some needs in tokenizing real-world assets and having a better, let's say, form of collateral that can be used. We've been having so many different conversations with asset issuers and tokenization platforms and risk curators, and it seems quite consistent that this is what everyone needs, but it still feels so early that it's not clear how do you even perform liquidations on these assets. Many of us are familiar with the Oracle problem in its initial phase of bringing prices from centralized exchanges. And here we have some kind of an evolution of this problem, which is not just delivering the price of an asset from centralized exchange, but it's actually understanding how the value of this asset is being derived, what will change the value of this asset, how are we doing risk management, how are we connecting to different independent entities that can provide us data, either on the issuer or the custodian, or any real-world entities that are part of this tokenization process. We've seen a lot of growth in recent years, really derived mostly by this growth in real-world assets. And we anticipate this to continue in the coming years and likely to expand in much more. So again, I'm Matan, I'm the CEO of EO, and I'm happy to continue this with anyone that might have some questions or needs in the real-world asset space. Thank you so much.